Yo, what's going on, everyone? It's the Casual Cube, and here's round 2 of the Vraska Regal Gorgon Planeswalker deck challenge. Last week, I was intending to play the Blue-Red Wizards deck, the budget Blue-Red Wizards, but a couple things came up. First of all, one of my buddies texted me and told me, I think he saw a Facebook post about another game store, which is about 15 more minutes away from my main game store. He told me that they were giving away a free Ultimate Masters pack for first place. And also on top of that, their entry for Friday Night Magic for Standard was free as well to celebrate the Ultimate Masters, because a lot of people, I think they had like a midnight release on Thursday night, and then on Friday they had the drafts and everything. They also do Modern as well on Friday Night Magic, which is pretty cool. But anyways, so I wanted to win in that case, so I didn't play the Blue-Red Wizards, and I brought my Mono Black control deck. I went 3-1, lost to Girl Dinosaurs, Green-Red Dinosaurs. Just 2 games of Steel Leaf Champion turn 1, trying to stabilize, and then they, drop some big old dinos on me. So, yeah, so I didn't play the Blue-Red Wizards, and then on top of that, they didn't have the play sets. This new game store didn't have a play set of Wizards Lightning, so I still need my Wizards Lightning. And yeah, that's just, I'll probably order it off of eBay, but I have so many different brews that I want to play, so the Blue-Red Wizards might be on the back burner for now, but until I get my Wizards Lightning. But I really want to play that deck because it's actually more of like a red deck, like a burn, rush, aggro red deck, but with the Blue-Red Wizards, it's kind of like you get that nice little flare of blue in there, so you can, from the sideboard, you can get the counter spells and everything. So I think it's a little bit more intricate than the regular mono red aggro decks, but that's why I really like the Blue-Red Wizards. It's an aggro deck, but it has like these little quirks to it where you have to like think about your turns and when do you burn and when do you go to the face or when do you destroy one of their creatures instead. So I like that. But anyways, back to this right here. Back to the Planeswalker deck challenge for Vraska. I still need to do an updated version on Raw. Got a bunch of different ideas for it, but I haven't been sold on it yet. And plus, I just really like Vraska. She's a beast. Look at her. She's just she's awesome. But anyways, let's get back into this. So again, if you don't know, it's just a little thing I like to do, just for fun. Try and take a Planeswalker deck, remove all of the bad cards essentially, and on a budget, try and go 2-2 at an FNM. And the reason for this is that, after I'm done, playing this jank brew at FNM with the Planeswalker, as well as the Planeswalker tutor cards, after I'm done with that, I can have it for the kitchen table, have a little battle box experience, battle chest experience, whatever you want to call it, with all these different Planeswalkers. That's kind of my end goal. But I also want to take these decks and try my best, try and go 2-2. So this is round 2. I've already done 1 round. I went true record, 0 wins, 1 loss, and 1 tie. So yeah, I'm going by true record. I'm not going by DCI record, so just a heads up. But anyways, here's the revised deck list. I really like the Llanowar Elves. I think anytime you're in green, slap in those Llanowar Elves. This right here, instead of playing with the Seeker Squires, I'm replacing them with Knight of Malice. And in this way, we can have 3 power creatures, which is really, really good for a kind of an aggressive deck that we're trying to be. We're trying to be this mid-range deck where we want to swing in, and every time we're swinging in with these creatures, we're hitting them for 3 damage. So also against the white decks, there's a lot of white decks out there, Boros Angels and Knights, or just Boros Mentor, or Boros Aggro. There's all these different variants of the Boros right now. So and yeah, I think it's just a great solid 2-drop. So we're going to add that in and replace it with the Seeker Squire. Even though the Seeker Squire is nice because you can, pitch a creature from the top of your deck into your graveyard if you need that undergrowth for, the Charnel Trolls over here, which I'm still a fan of Charnel Troll. No one can stop me. I love this guy. But if you want to go something that's a little bit more traditional, probably a little bit more conservative, go with the Zonies. Just because the payoff is probably a little bit better, but for me, I just love the Charnel Troll. I'm a sucker for that 3 mana, 4/4 body with built-in trample. I just love that. And also, you know, I had a great experience with him at my pre-release, so I'm sticking to him. I think I'm dropping down my Midnight Reapers down to 1 count, just to 3. A lot of the Golgari mid-range decks are running 2 copies, I think, and then 1 from the sideboard. I'm just gonna main deck 3. It's a good minion, but it's not like a beastly minion, you know, or beastly creature. He's not like that good, but he is, you know, he does provide a little bit of resiliency for single target removal or board wipes. And district guides right here. Now, I'm sure you guys have seen Strictly Better Magic's, you know, the $5 decks for $5. In his Golgari version, he had 4 district guides, and I am you know, I need to jump on this value train that district guide is giving us, because it is a 2/2 body and you're getting a land out of it. So you know, we can chum block with it, put another body into the graveyard, because once we got a land from it, I mean, we're already getting value out of it. I'm a sucker for this card now. I'm a true believer in that value. So I'm jumping on that bandwagon that, you know, Strictly Better Magic has shown us. So I'm going to include all 4 copies in here, trying to give us some mana fixing. And you know what? It's going straight to the Tetzimoc. Now, I love Tetzimoc. You know, this is a wild card. I think it's good as a one of. That's just me though. It's good against, you know, we're getting a bunch of these lands. We can secure our lands with Glowspore Shaman and District Guide. And, you know, right here with the Tetzimoc, I think it's going to be, you know, we can guarantee our lands more or less, or thin our deck, where we can hopefully utilize Tetzimoc towards the mid to late game. So that's kind of the reason why he's in here, just as a one of, just because I really like him. Now going to the non-creatures, I'm still going to keep the, you know, 1 copy of Fine Finality, and I'm main decking 2 more status statues. The reason being is because just that flexibility with the statue part, destroy target artifact, creature, or enchantment, is so versatile right now. I think it is, you know, on a budget option like that we're trying to do for this budget deck, for the Planeswalker deck challenge. I think it's just good to main deck 4 of them. I'm never going to feel bad top decking this just to destroy a creature, even though for 4 mana, destroy a creature is pretty heavy. Just having that flexibility anytime that we encounter some crazy shenanigans, treasure map, Conclave Tribunal, I mean, we're going to be able to handle it. So I'm going to main deck 4 status statues. I just kept that 1 copy of Fine Finality because, you know, you can increase the count to, you know, maybe 2 or 3 copies that a lot of the Golgari mid-range decks are running right now. But I just decided to keep that 1 copy just because I opened it in a booster. So I haven't bought any more, but I probably should. Because it is a great card, Fine Finality. But I'm going to main deck 1 Gruesome Menagerie, so this is kind of like a Fine Finality, where we have that value where we can outgrind our opponent. You know, they burn a bunch of removal, or, you know, they have a board sweeper, boom, we hit them with the Gruesome Menagerie, refill our board. I'm just going to keep it as a one of, and I don't think I have another copy in the sideboard, but previously I had 2 copies in the sideboard, but I'm just going to main deck 1 of them. And then, of course, the Planeswalker deck challenge, the essence of the challenge is the tutor card, as well as the Planeswalker, which is hilarious. When, you know, you actually play these cards, people are like, what is that? You know, they got to reread the cards, and then they react, and they're like, oh my gosh, it's an actual Planeswalker deck. So it's just for the memes, just for hilarity. Just for fun. So, Landbase, I'm going to actually go with Evolving Wilds. So instead of the Golgari Guildgates, I'm going to go with the Evolving Wilds. I think we can really thin our deck with the Glowspore Shamans and the District Guides. With the District Guide and the Evolving Wilds, we should be able to thin our deck. I know it's like very insignificant, but you know it could possibly in the long run matter, just so we can keep on drawing into good stuff instead of our lands. That's just a personal choice. If you want to go with Golgari Guildgates, go with it. But yeah, 2 Memorial to Follies, because I forgot about this card. It's so good, especially with the Molderhulk, but we're not running with Molderhulks. But still, just having 2 of. I don't want to go with too many of the Memorial to Follies, because playing with 6 enter the battlefield tapped lands, Evolving Wilds, the land comes in tapped. It is annoying, so just heads up with that. But yeah, I'm only going to play 2 Memorial to Follies in our sideboard. So I'm going to... I think I'm going to take my Planeswalker deck challenges and try and utilize all of the cards, or at least all of the good cards in the Planeswalker deck. And in this case, it came with 3 deadweights, so I'm going to put 3 deadweights into the sideboard against the, Danto Vanguard mono-white aggro matchup. The 4 Pilfering Imps are kind of like Duress, but it's a body with it as well, so we can use it as ammunition after we use the effect for Charnel Troll. So it's kind of like, also giving us a body into the graveyard. The Crushing Canopy is good against, Aurelia, Lara Dawnbringer, or any kind of big flyers, maybe a Drake deck. But also, if we need the versatility, for example, against the Boros Angels, we have it for the Conclave Charbinals as well, so it's a nice versatile 2 of in the sideboard. The Golgari Finebrokers against the mid-range matchup, or against, even against, maybe you want to include it for the aggro matchup because it does have the 3/4 body and it gives us another permanent. So, or maybe against the control matchup even. If you feel like the game's going to go long, just a nice solid two of in the sideboard. And the Planeswalker deck came with 1 Beast Whisperer, 1 Bounty of Might, and the 1 Crawl Forgers. And I think each of these is great in the sideboard. The Beast Whisperer is good against. It's kind of like Midnight Reaper, where it can refill our board after we get board wiped. So you keep this in your hand, get board wiped by Cleansing Nova or Deafening Clarion, then hit drop the Beast Whisperer. Hopefully, it doesn't have an answer. Our opponent doesn't have an answer, and then we top deck another creature. We can draw another card. That's why the Beast Whisperer is in the sideboard. The Crawl Forgers is against the burn matchup, the mono red or the Rakdos burn. They're hitting you with the Sword Point Diplomacies or the Risk Factors. Hit them with the Crawl Forgers. Play it as a 1-up from the sideboard, and then you can hopefully get 5-6 HP maybe. I don't know. And it also has the 4/4 body, which is nothing to laugh at. It's a nice blocker. And then so we are playing the second copy of Gruesome Menagerie against the Cleansing Nova decks. Bounty of Might is just a nice solid 1-of, I think, from the sideboard against the control matchup where we can get away with it. The Bounty of Might is pretty stale against the aggro matchup where we're trying to stabilize early in the game. But against the control matchup, I think we can steal a win, especially game 2. They might not have the negates, or they might take out a bunch of non-creature spells, like, well, maybe the Syncopates, I don't know. But, maybe they don't have the negates, and we can get away with a win. We have 1 creature on board, and then all of a sudden we're swinging it for 3, hit them with the Bounty of Might, and then we're swinging it for 12. So maybe we can steal a win with that from the sideboard against control. So that's my revised deck list for that. And yeah, here are the stats. So I'm trying to, so now with the Planeswalker deck challenge, I'm going to try and keep as many cards as I possibly can from the original deck. That way, if you're a brand new player, you can, have a way to, you have the Planeswalker deck and you play it on the kitchen table, and then all of a sudden you want to try and get into Friday Night Magic. Well, it's best if you're a brand new player to try and utilize as many of the cards as you possibly can. In this case, we aren't using 31 cards because they're just pretty bad, but I think keeping 29 out of 60, including the lands, and I want to include the lands because lands are important. You got to have lands to play the game, right? So yeah, I think that this is just a better way for beginners to try and utilize as many possible cards from the original deck as possible. And then the upgrade price, to get these 46 singles, it's going to cost you around $9 to $10. Nothing too extravagant for these 46 cards, but it's going to make your deck a lot better for your Friday Night Magic, especially against this. Well, right now we're in the Guilds of Ravnica meta, but coming up, the allegiance of the Guild's allegiance is going to shake things up. But in the meantime, I think right now this is still going to be viable for an FNM to try and go 2-2, which is a respectable appearance for a Planeswalker deck, in my opinion. So the overall MSRP, $15 for the Planeswalker deck, and then an extra $10 for the singles, 46 singles. It's going to be about $25, so that's kind of the point of the Planeswalker deck challenge, is to be a budget, affordable option to going into Friday Night Magic, because there are no challenger decks at the moment. So, alright, so this part of the video is going to be more about if you're not doing the Planeswalker deck, if you didn't buy it and you wanted maybe some ideas for kind of this style of a deck, this mid-range Golgari deck with the Charnel Trolls, just because that's just my own little personal flair to it. I really like the Charnel Trolls, but if you're interested in like a $20 to $25 deck, just buying the singles straight up, this is kind of my my suggestion, okay? So, of course, we're going to keep the Llanowar Elves. Moving on, we're going to go into the Glowspore Shaman, Crawl Harpooner, and the Knight of Malice. I think these are just great 2-drops early in the game. You trade them off. Hopefully you take out another body, and you have another body in the graveyard. And moving on, just the Charnel Troll. I really love this guy. Give him a shot. Don't hate on him. But, yeah, we're going to go down to 2 Midnight Reapers. It's kind of the trend for a lot of the Golgari mid-range decks. They're only playing 2 Midnight Reapers. I'm going with the 3 Okrand Assassins because I think early in the game we're filling our board with 2-drops, and then we drop the Okrand Assassin. Of course, it is very susceptible to a Goblin Chain Roller, but we're not in a huge Goblin Chain Roller meta, but it might be different at your local game store, but with Okrand Assassin, you play him, and then all of a sudden they have to block all of their creatures, and then you can get in with all of your 2-drops with the 3 power. So I think it's a nice aggressive creature that can really shake up the board stalls. Also provides another body into the graveyard. And then here's the Ravenous Chupacabras. This is going to be a bigger part of the deck cost, because each Chupacabra is trading at about $1 each. But playing a 4 of is going to be awesome because you kill the biggest creature on their board, and then you get a 2/2 body where you can trade it in another body into the graveyard for you. And then the non-creature spells, I'm still going to play that one Find Finality and then the 4 status statues. I think you're going to have a great time with the statue part, just to have a versatile answer to anything that comes your way. And then 3 Vicious Offerings. The Vicious Offering is so nice because we can sacrifice a land or elf later in the game, or something that's not doing much, and then we can kill off a 5 toughness creature, a Niv Mizzet, Aurelia, or whatever, a Drake. You know, it's a really nice card that I think is really going to be great for this kind of style of a deck. And it's actually something that I was reading up on the Budget MTG Reddit, and someone said, oh, hey, what about the Vicious Offering instead of what was it, Moment of Cravings? And I'm like, dude, that is awesome. That's just so perfect in this kind of style of a deck, because it might, there might be a board stall, and then you can just sacrifice your creature that isn't doing much, like a Glowspore Shaman or Llanowar Elf, and then take out their biggest thing, and then all of a sudden swing in. So, and then I'm still going to play that one copy of Gruesome Menagerie. A lot of board clears, just a 1 of later in the game. Hopefully you draw, and then you have a bunch of bodies in your graveyard. Play Gruesome Menagerie. 5 mana for 3 bodies. I think is really good, especially if those bodies come in and they haven't entered the battlefield effect. Such as the Call Harpooner. But yeah, we're going to shorten down our land base down to 23. We're not playing with the District Guide, so I'm not playing with the Evolving Wilds, so just go with the 3 Golgari Guild Gates, and then 2 Memorial to Follies. You don't want to be playing with too many enter the battlefield tap lands, just because it's annoying. Going into the sideboard, 3 Duresses, 4 Pilfering Imps against the Control matchup, 1 more Vicious Offering and Golden Demise against the Mono White or Tokens deck, especially against Odonto Vanguard. Got to deal with Odonto Vanguard with a -2 toughness portion, because it can give indestructible otherwise. Sideboard, we're gonna have 1 Playcrafter, 2 Eldest Reborn against the Teferi matchups. Bring them in. They have to sacrifice the Teferi, hopefully. 1 Call Foragers for the Burn matchup. I don't know if people are playing Burn or Aggro, but if they are, 5 mana, 4/4 body, as well as regain some life to help stabilize. I think it's nice as a 1 of. And then an extra copy of the Gruesome Menagerie against the control matchups with the Ritual of Suits or the Cleansing Novas. So that's just kind of my suggestion for what you if you do want something to about $20 to $25, maybe a Golgari mid-range deck, but you don't have the money for the Vivian Reeds, or all the different planeswalkers and the Golgari deck, or the Carnage Tyrant. So if you don't have the money for him, I think that you can get by with this $20 to $22 deck with the Charnel Trolls. I love the Charnel Trolls. No one can stop me. I love him. He's a beast. But yeah, as you can see here, I bolded the Ravenous Chupacabra and the Eldest Reborns because they're the most expensive parts of the deck. So just giving you a heads up right there. And then moving on, we're going to be getting into Strictly Better Magic's SBMTG's $5 deck, the Golgari version, what he did, and how we can upgrade that deck into something a little bit more, from $5 to about $20 to $25. And I'll show you here in just a second. So with SBMTG's Golgari $5 deck, you'll notice that there's these little loopers in here, where you can, Memorial to Folly, you can bring back a Molderhulk, and then you can drop your Molderhulk. Hopefully there's a bunch of creatures in your graveyard, so, it costs a lot less mana. And you bring back your Memorial to Folly, and then you can Memorial to Folly again, and you have this little loop. And Golgari Find Brokerage is nice because you can bring back any target permanent, so that includes the Memorial to Folly, but most likely you'll want to bring back a bigger creature like a Molderhulk, or an Azoni or something that's going to be a little bit more impactful, because the Memorial to Folly is great and everything, but you got to spend 3 mana and you got to sacrifice it. And it does come into the battlefield tapped, so you do have to wait a little bit with the Memorial to Folly, so it's better just to bring back the Molderhulk. But as you can see here, there's a lot of recursion, where, the Molderhulk brings back the Memorial to Folly, and, you can just keep on going the long game. You can grind them out that way. They have to burn removal, or they have to chump block with a Molderhulk on the board, and, yeah, you can just have this constant recursion, and you're just trying to grind them out. So, that's the cool thing about the deck. Another great thing about it is if you actually go to not SBMTG, but mtggoldfish.com, you can actually see the meta decks, and as you can see here on the right, it has similar decks. The Golgari Graveyard, it's a little bit different than the Golgari Midrange, because as you can see here, there's a ton of creatures. A ton of creatures. There's only there's one Necrotic Wound, one Vraska Golgari Queen, and one Immortal Sun, and that's it. And then the rest of it's creatures. And the cool thing about this is that with spells, once they go into the graveyard, they kind of lose their value. But with creatures, if you have the built-in removal, like a Ravenous Chupacabra or like a Plaguecrafter or something, and then it gets in, it gets taken out, and then it's in your graveyard, it still has the value where you're getting that undergrowth payoff. So as you can see here on the far right, there's a different, multiple 5/0 decks at different time periods. The 10th of December, the 3rd of December, the 29th of November. So yeah, a lot of competitive standard leagues for MTG Go. The online meta is going to be different than your local game store meta, but we're just trying to look at this, trying to get some similarities from this deck list as well as the SBMTG deck list. And what you'll see is that, this one also plays the 3 Molderhulks. And this one actually plays 4 Memorial of the Follies, but he doesn't play any other Enter the Battlefield tapped land. So I'm actually going to chop it down to 2, and I think SBMTG also did that. He chopped it down to 2 because I think he's playing with the 4 Golgari Guildgates, which is, again, Enters the Battlefield tapped. You don't want to be playing with too many tapped lands because it gets annoying. You can't play your stuff on curve. Giving you a heads up if you go wild on the tapped lands. But anyways, this guy, he plays with overgrown tombs, obviously, in the woodland cemeteries because, trying to be competitive. And then the 4 Memorial of the Follies. So this guy's really about grinding the game out. He's really going the long distance with the 3 Molderhulks, the Zoni, the Underrealm Lich, even the Crawl Foragers, I think, is nice as a one-of in the main deck. And you can also look, he's also using Golgari Raiders instead of the Rhizome Lurcher, which I think is interesting. I guess he's using it as a finisher, possibly, with all these, 33 creatures, and, with the 4 Stitcher Suppliers, the 4 Glowspore Shaman, and, there's only one Explorer, Merfolk Branchwalker, but as you can see here, he has a bunch of 4 ofs, but the 4 ofs are things that he really wants. The Midnight Reaper, the Ravenous Chupacabras, playing 4 ofs, the Glowspore Shaman, and the Stitcher Suppliers. He's all about the value. He's all about, once your creatures are on the board, and they get taken out into the graveyard, they're still resourceful. So I really like this deck list, and we're going to try and emulate a budget version of it with SBMTG's $5 deck. So we're going to go from, this one right here is $190 in paper. SBMTG's is about $5 to $7 with the lands maybe, and we're going to try to make a nice little balance with, maybe $20 to $25. So we're going to play with 35 creatures. I know the previous list had 33, but let's just go all in on the creatures, man. Let's see how this works. So we're going to go all 4 Stitcher Suppliers, get a bunch of stuff into our graveyard when it enters the battlefield or dies. So that's going to be our Undergrowth Mechanic Engine along with the 4 Glowspore Shamans. I'm still going to keep 3 Crawl Harpooners just because there's a lot of, aerial threats, and I think I have a 4th in the sideboard, so just a heads up. But this is just a great card to fight, bigger creatures after you have all that Undergrowth pay off in the graveyard. You can literally use this as a removal spell against aerial threats like, Lyra, it is fighting, so first strike doesn't matter, but Lyra Dawnbringer, Drakes, Aurelia, stuff like that, Doombringer maybe, or Doom Whisperer maybe. You do have to get 3 creatures in the graveyard, and also another cool thing about Crawl Harpooner is that if you have nothing in the graveyard, you can still fight things, aerial threats if you wanted to. So, but you just won't get any of the payoff because there's no creatures in the graveyard, but you can still fight. Then you may have Crawl Harpooner fight that creature, So, Dryad Greenseeker, so as you saw in the previous list, that 5/0 MTG Go list, it was using 3 Dryad Greenseekers, and then with the with the Glowspore Shaman, you can put a land on top if you need the fixing and then draw it with the Dryad Greenseeker. And the cool thing about Greenseeker is that it's also a nice 1/3 body, so it can chump block, a bunch of tokens or, a 2/2 body. So it's just a nice little 2-drop, I think. And also, if you need to, just sacrifice it or, block a bigger threat with it and put it into the graveyard, it's still going to be resourceful. So that's our early 2-drops. Going into the 3, I'm going to play the 4 District Guides and the 4 Midnight Reapers. So, the MTG Go 5/0 list had the 4 Midnight Reapers because it's really trying to trade the bodies into the graveyard. So we're always trying to get value with our creatures. And the Midnight Reaper is just more value because, once they get removed, not only do they have the value in the graveyard, but we're also drawing a card, even though we, take 1 damage. But, that's insignificant because hopefully we're the one being the aggressive one with all these creatures, right? And I'm actually going to include 4 District Guides because I am sold on District Guides, like I said, with SBMTG's list. He had the 4 District Guides. I think in this list it's even better because we're playing with the Dryad Greenseeker, the Glowspore Shamans, the District Guides. We have a lot of ways to just guarantee our mana. And I think District Guide thinning our deck a little bit and then getting the 2/2 body, we can trade it or we could be aggressive with it. After it entered the battlefield, we get our land. It's still, getting that 2/2 body is still really nice. Isareth here I think is just nice as a one of. After we get a bunch of stuff in our graveyard, we can use Isareth to, attack and then bring back something, maybe like a Ravenous Chupacabra. So moving on, we're gonna play 4 Ravenous Chupacabras because again, this is such a good card. If I weren't doing the Planeswalker deck challenge and I wasn't trying to stay under a budget, I would obviously drop 4 Ravenous Chupacabras, and my mono black control deck has 3. I still need to get my 4th, but I'm having great success with 3 in that mono black control. But if you're just straight up buying into this deck without the Planeswalker deck, just get the 4 Ravenous Chupacabras. It's only $4 for the full play set, and it's a really great card because you destroy their biggest creature and you get a 2/2 body. It goes into the graveyard, and then maybe we can bring it back with Memorial to Folly or a Golgari Findbroker. There's a lot of recursion. So the cool thing about Ravenous Chupacabra is that the built-in removal is just so nice in this Golgari Graveyard kind of style of a deck. So the Golgari Findbrokers, again, with the Molderhulk, the Memorial to Folly combo, just bring back your Molderhulk from the graveyard if it gets milled with the Glowspore Shaman or the Stitcher Supplier. You can bring back the Molderhulk with the Golgari Findbroker. And then, if you have a Memorial to Folly in the graveyard, you use your Molderhulk to bring back that Memorial to Folly onto the battlefield, but it does enter the battlefield tap, so just heads up. But yeah, the deck, that 5/0 deck with the Golgari Graveyard used 1 Izoni. SBMTG used 2, which I think I think there's merit to both. Seeing it a little bit more often than the 1 copy, it makes sense. But I think let's go all in on this Molderhulk action. Let's give this a shot. Let's really grind it out with the Molderhulks. That's just me though. Having the 1 Izoni is nice, but there is merit to going the 2/3 ratio that SBMTG went. He went 2 Izonis and then 3 Molderhulks. So just that's something that you're gonna have to play test. But in my case, I really think if you're gonna go with all these creatures, especially with all the undergrowth payoff, try and go 4 Molderhulks and see how that does. I think it'd just be fun. Of course, early in the game, if you draw 4 Molderhulks, that would be really, really bad. But yeah, so just moving on into the non-creatures, we're going to keep that 1 copy of Necrotic Wound. SBMTG, he used 4 copies of Necrotic Wound, but the thing about Necrotic Wound is that if you have a 4 of, and you're drawing into 2 early in the game, 2 Necrotic Wounds, and you have nothing in the graveyard, it's kind of it's a low-powered spell. It's a spell that really scales out of control as you get more stuff into the graveyard with your Glowspore Shaman and your Stitcher Suppliers. But in this deck, there probably could be merit to running 2 to 3, but in SBMTG's version, he runs 4, which I don't think is it's not a bad thing. It's just you really got to have a bunch of stuff in your graveyard, and early in the game when there's nothing in your graveyard or very little, it just doesn't do much. But in this case, I think there is merit to running 2, maybe even 3 copies of Necrotic Wound in this deck. I think there's 1 in the sideboard, but we're going all in on the creatures, so we're relying on the Ravenous Chupacabra to remove our threats. But yeah, so Necrotic Wound is a great spell, but it does need some work to get all that stuff into the graveyard so it scales. Early in the game, it doesn't do much, and I think I saw a sideboard MTG draw 2 Necrotic Wounds early, and he had nothing in the graveyard, so that's just kind of a personal choice that you'll have to make. And the land base, since we're playing the District Guides again, I'm going with the 4 Evolving Wilds. We can really thin our deck out with the 4 District Guides as well as the 4 Evolving Wilds. The only thing that is going to be really mana crazy is the Golgari Findbrokers. It needs 2 black and then 2 green. But I think with the Evolving Wilds as well as the District Guides, you can easily get your Swamps and Forest. And then we're only going to play 2 Memorial to Follies. Again, that 5/0 Golgari Graveyard deck used 4 Memorial to Follies with the 3 Molderhulks. So yeah, just giving you a heads up. But yeah, again, with all these enter the battlefield tapped lands, it gets annoying to play your stuff on curve. So we're only going to play 2 and then rely on the 4 Evolving Wilds. Or you can go like 3 Evolving Wilds, 3 Memorial to Follies. It's up to you. Excuse me. And then going to the sideboard, the 4 Pilfering Imps, again, it acts as duress, but it's kind of like, you also get that body into the graveyard, so that's kind of a perk. It's like duress, but on a creature. And also it can get non-lands, just straight up, not non-creatures. You can also get a creature with Pilfering Imp as opposed to duress, where duress, it's a non-creature, non-land. So Necrotic Wound, again, that 1 extra copy from the sideboard. If you're realizing that your opposing matchup is, you need to have that additional removal. 1 additional Crawl Harpooner against the aerial threats. So that would be our 4th copy. 2 Golden Demises. Golden Demise does have a lot of friendly fire in our deck, but sometimes against tokens and the mono white aggro against maybe Donta Vanguard or whatever, the Golden Demises are going to be really, really clutch. 2 Playcrafters against the Teferi matchup, and also we can bring back from the graveyard 2 Crawl Foragers, so bring in 2 more from the sideboard because we're playing with, well, no, I don't think we're playing with any in the main deck, but that 5-0 Golgari Graveyard deck had 1 in the main deck, 1 Crawl Foragers, but I'm going to put 2 into the sideboard just against the burn matchup or any aggressive matchup where we need to stabilize. We get that 4/4 body and we gain a bunch of health. Gruesome Menagerie against the Cleansing Novas again, the Ritual Suits, all those board clears that are in the meta right now, so throw in that Gruesome Menagerie in there when you're going against board wipers. And the 2 Elders Reborn, again, against along with the Playcrafters and the Pilfering Imps against the control matchup. Take out their Teferi, and then hopefully use the Teferi against them. That'd be nice. So, as you can see here, the Molderhulk, it's going to be about 26 to 28. Possibly after this video is done, it might, fluctuate 25 to 30 bucks. I don't know, for the 75 singles right here. The bold cards are the Stitcher Suppliers, the Ravenous Chupacabras, and the Elders Reborns. These are going to be the most expensive parts of the deck. Stitcher Suppliers, I think, are about $2 right now because they're so useful, I think, in not only this kind of style of deck, but also maybe in modern decks. I really don't know why it spiked up to $2, but it's kind of like the main engine that you need for this Golgari Graveyard kind of style of a deck. And then the Chupacabras obviously are really nice, and the Elders Reborn have spiked up in price because they're pretty useful as well. So yeah, it's about, under 30 bucks. I think it's reasonable for this Golgari really cool graveyard style of a deck. And as you can see here, it's not the ultra budget with SBMTG, which is a great deck and everything, but if we really want to improve on the Molderhulk concept, we can go up to 28 bucks or 30 bucks and have something that we can play at F&M. So just giving you guys some suggestions. Feel free to make your own adjustments. Every local game store meta is going to be different. So I'm going to show you my paper version of what I'm rocking. Again, these last 2 deck builds were just, budget builds to give you some suggestions, some inspiration. But in my case, I'm still doing the Planeswalker deck challenge, so I will show you what I'm rocking in paper. Alright, what's up, guys? So I'm going to show you my Vraska Planeswalker deck challenge deck in paper. I've already organized it. Yeah. So I really like this deck. It's kind of like this mid-range, a little bit grindy kind of style of deck, but I just like it because it's going to be fun on the kitchen table as well after I'm done with it on Friday Night Magic. So, again, the 4 Llanowar Elves, the Knight of Malice, which I think is going to be a great addition to replace the Seeker Squire. It's going to be a little bit more aggressive as the built-in first strike, hexproof from white, and then it becomes a 3/2 against the white decks, which there's a lot of them right now with the Boros. Crawl Harpooner, again, playing that as a 4/of. Nice 3/2 body with reach, has the Undergrowth payoff to fight aerial threats. The Gullispore Shaman fuels our graveyard as well as having a 3-power body, so that's our 2-drops. And then the District Guides, that's kind of net decking the idea from SBMTG. I just really like this card now that I look at it a little bit more. It's a 2/2 body, and we also get a land, so we fix our lands in this kind of style of a deck. Where we do have, we're playing with the Tetsamok as well as the Vraska Regal Gorgon. Wait, is it Regal Gorgon? I'm pretty sure it's, yeah, Vraska Regal Gorgon. So that one is 7 mana, and this ensures our lands. So I'm a big fan of this card. So we're going to play a full playset of 4, and then the 3 Midnight Reapers, so went down to 3 from 4. Again, a lot of the Golgari mid-range decks are running about 2 copies in the main, I think. That's kind of the trend from what I've been seeing. And yeah, it's just a great card because anytime one of your creatures dies, or once this dies, you get that filtering. You draw a card, even though you take 1 damage. That's small price to pay. Charnel Troll, again, we're trying to, flood the board, trade our creatures in, and then get a bunch of ammunition to fuel our Charnel Troll, because this card can get out of control. You know, later in the game, if you draw a top deck Llanowar Elves, you can use it to fuel even more. You know, a useless creature, top deck. Tetsamok, just because I love this guy. He's just a personal, you know, one of in the deck. That's just me, though. Yeah, I just have a lot of love for Tetsamok. Then we have that one Find Finality that I said that I opened from a booster pack. Probably need to up this to about 2 copies, I think, would be reasonable. But yeah, the Finality part, even though it is tough to get to 6 mana sometimes, it's really good against the 4 toughness, you know, like the Enigma Drake's decks. So, 4 status statues, the full playset. But previously I was running 2 in the main. Now I'm running all 4 in the main, just because I think it's a great budget card. A lot of flexibility. We can have this status part if we need to, but mainly against it's going to be used for the statue. We can kill their biggest threat, or take out you know, whatever, you know, treasure map, an artifact, or any kind of, you know, Conclave Tribunal with enchantments. So just a very flexible card that I think is great on this kind of budget style deck. One Gruesome Menagerie just in the main deck, just as a one of. Refill our board after we, you know, have a bunch of stuff in the graveyard. Even though the Charnel Trolls do go against it, chances are we're going to have one Charnel Troll that gets taken out early in the game or in the mid game, and then we can regurgitate this back onto the battlefield with a Gruesome Menagerie. And then maybe, you know, we have like a Knight of Malice or something in the graveyard that we didn't use Charnel Troll to exile it with, so maybe it's still in the graveyard, and we can just Gruesome Menagerie. It's just a nice one of to refill our board. And then the 2 Vraskas Stoneglare, as well as the Regal Gorgon. Yeah, it's just the Planeswalker deck challenge. So again, you know, after I'm done with it for FNM, I can use it for the kitchen table. And yeah, I really like this Vraska because her eyes glow, which I don't think you can see very well. Boom. Yeah, it's a little bit blurry, but her eyes glow, which is pretty sweet. And then this card right here, I just love the art, and you know, getting that 5 toughness, or I mean, if you use it on a 5 toughness creature, you get 5 life, and you tutor out your Vraska Regal Gorgon, which is funny. I don't know, I just really like this concept, this kind of a kitchen table deck. So yeah, for lands, I'm going to play the 4 Evolving Wilds and then 2 more of the Follies, 8 Swamps, and 10 Forests, because we need to make sure we hit our forest for the Llanowar Elves as well as the District Guides. But yeah, the 4 Evolving Wilds are for, along with the District Guide, we can filter out our deck, we can thin it. Even though the percentages are really insignificant, they're pretty small, I think, you know, with these 8 cards, the 4 Evolving Wilds and the 4 District Guides, we can really thin our deck to, you know, maybe, hopefully draw into more gas, more useful cards in the top deck wars. So yeah, that's that right there. Let me show you the sideboard. So again, with the sideboard, I'm trying to, you know, with the Planeswalker deck challenge, I'm trying to keep as many cards as I possibly can from the original deck list. That way, you know, if you are a beginner, you can, you know, utilize as many of the original cards. So this is a lot with Giant. I didn't really include in there, but I'm including it in paper just because against a control deck, maybe I use it. So, but yeah, the deck, Planeswalker deck, the Vraska Regal Gorgon came with 3 deadweights, so I'm going to put in 3 deadweights from the sideboard for, you know, the mono-white aggro Adonto Vanguard matchups. You know, the 4 Pilfering Imps against the control deck. Take out the board sweepers or their Teferis or whatever, and also we get an extra body into the graveyard. So not playing with duress though, but yeah, the 4 Pilfering Imps are great. 1 Crushing Canopy, so in this case, you know, it's great against the Angels decks or Drake decks, or, you know, even against Conclave Tribunal if we need the enchantment removal, just nice as a one of. 2 Golgari Finebrokers for the long game matchups, or even against the, you know, if I feel like it could be used to our advantage in the aggro matchup, it is a 3/4 blocker. So we also get an additional permanent from our graveyard, so maybe we can bring back a Knight of Malice or something. So yeah, just trying to stabilize with that card, or just go long with the game. You know, if the game gets drawn out, these are really good because yeah, just having that grind value is really great. 1 Beast Whisper came into the Planeswalker deck, so again, gonna include this into the sideboard because I think it's kind of like Midnight Reaper, where it kind of, you know, gives us that resiliency. We get board wiped, keep this in our hand, play this. Once it resolves, hopefully it won't have an answer, but then we top deck creatures, and then hopefully we're drawing into more cards and more gas to, you know, go against the control deck. So I think it's a good card from the sideboard. 1 Crawl Forgers against the burn matchup, aggro matchup, to try and stabilize, get some life. Hopefully we get, like, you know, 5 life with it. You know, 5 creatures in the graveyard I think is reasonable by turn 5. We'll see though, maybe I'm wrong about that. especially if the Ungrowth is weaker in this kind of style of a deck with the Charnel Trolls, but Charnel Troll gets, it's a high priority target, and if it gets left alone and just starts chugging in for a bunch of damage, we should win easily by then. But if not, even against the burn deck, the Crawl Forgers, I think, is just a great card against the burn kind of style decks. And then one Gruesome Menagerie, one additional Gruesome Menagerie, so one in the main, one in the sideboard. This will give us resiliency against the Cleansing Nova decks or Ritual Suit decks. Bounty of Might came, also one copy came with the Planeswalker deck, as well as the Lotleth Giant, one copy of this. Again, these are just good sideboard cards against the control matchup. If the game is going long, maybe we can surprise win with the Lotleth Giant or the Bounty of Might. We swing in with a creature, maybe gets unblocked, and all of a sudden, boom, we hit him with the Bounty of Might, hit him for, a bunch of damage. We can put all of this target creature onto one creature. So, yeah, that's my sideboard right now for tonight's FNM. And, yeah, we shall see how it goes. I think it'll go... I don't know. I want to get that 2-2 so I can finally be done with this challenge. Yeah, that's my Planeswalker deck right now. And after I'm done with this FNM shenanigans, I will just have another deck for the kitchen table. Kind of have like a battle box experience for all my friends. But yeah, that's just the deck right now. So wish me luck tonight.